Well, welcome to Family Hour. This is Chakmah Choter episode 20. With the fellas, we've got Captain Kirk and Kevin. How are you?
We're good. I'm good.
Yeah, we're at the last episode. We're with Kevin's shorts. And so we've got our illustrator below. And we're somehow going to find a way to get Captain Kirk as the official captain of the White Chariot. I understand we have medical services provided by Jeff and Sylvia. We have dating services provided by Leah. and the route will be interesting. Anyway, for those that don't know, it was our last program that we did on Family Hour was the status of the 4 chariots, where we were able to determine that the first of those chariots, the red one that does not leave Jerusalem, it represents the red heifer, the man from Edom dressed in red, and the Adamah Parah, which is the bloody red band of the earth, who serves as the red heifer. It stays in Jerusalem. But then the next 2 chariots, one of those goes out and just finally puts the ultra-religious and ultra-political Yehudim who have survived up to this point out of their misery so that they don't muck up the eternity for the rest of us. And that white chariot, that's the one you want to be at the helm of, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the white chariot, and it's a spiritual chariot, so you're going to have to be on your best behavior.
Well, I will try. I will do my best.
Yeah, it's a spiritual chariot. It's going to make 7 stops along the way. It goes north initially, and it picks up, providing transport for every Yisraelite and Yehud in the world, no matter where they might live, who has the potential of receiving the benefit of the sacrifice of the red heifer that prepares the adulterous woman that is Yisrael for her betrothal to the returning king, who is Dod. And the 4th chariot, the dapple chariot, the one that's a little less concerning to us because it picks up the Goyim along the way, who will serve as the worker bees for the millennial Shabbat, which is really a pretty good gig. I mean, it's the world's been at war. You're going to be able to enjoy what is a restored earth to the conditions of Eden and continue to live without the harassment of religion, politics, conspiracy, no Magites, no progressives, no Muslims, no any of this kind of stuff. So it's going to be a pretty good deal even for them. But the white chariot is where the action is. And so I got in fact, do you have your thing that you can read for the white chariot, Kirk? I'm seeing some.
I do.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and read your white chariot, and then we'll go on from there.
Okay. Well, as I told you this morning, I woke up and had this idea because I always wanted to be like Mort Druck of Mad Magazine. So what I wrote to you was, I woke up this morning with an idea that I thought you would like and consider. I intended to write it out and illustrate it in the style of Mad Magazine artist Mort Drucker. In the meantime, it goes like this. Welcome aboard Flight 777, the Yehuda Yisrael Express. I am your pilot, Captain Kirk. We'll be flying at warp speed and making 7 stops on our path along the way before we reach our final destination, Jerusalem. Today, my co-captain, Kevin, will be regaling you with a rendition of an old Frank Sinatra tune, Fly Me to the Moon and Let Me Play Among the Stars.
These are all insider jokes for those of you who are in the know. You're probably picking up on all of these, but yes.
Yes, so if need should arise, our onboard medical crew will be Dr. Jeff and Nurse Sylvia. The lovely and talented Leah will offer each passenger a headset with Kevin Shorts of Yada Yada Podcast. He will be available to answer any questions you may have. We will be serving lamb on matzah bread, red wine, bitter herbs, and Sylvia's very famous pineapple upside down cake.
Which is not part of the inside joke, but you must like it.
So it's really she's good cook. After we complete our mission in the northern hemisphere, we'll be take a short flight over the southern hemisphere and then fly directly to Jerusalem on Mount Moriah. Please provide the children with complimentary malak wings, and thank you for choosing Yada Yahweh Airlines. Yours very truly, Captain Kirk. Anyway, I did cheer you up this morning, so
And there will be an illustration for all of
I,
this in the
I
Mad
think
Magazine
so.
style. Kirk, for those who do not know, is a spectacular artist. But not only is he good with oils, and I have many of them that decorate our home, he is also a really, really talented illustrator. And I've seen so many of his illustrations that are pen and ink that are just spectacular. So this will be done in the style of Mad Magazine. And I think it'll be great. Well, as soon as we get it, Kirk, it'll find its way onto Facebook and maybe even into the crazy realm of X. It might even go viral on X because it might be crazy enough for them.
Just the right.
But thank you. That is
No,
actually,
my pleasure.
Yeah, it actually was a pretty significant find for us to delve into Zechariah 6 and find it so rich in testimony about what's going to transpire and this sacrifice of the Adamah Parah that takes place, the red heifer on Teruah. So many rabbis now are looking for a red cow. They're willing to go to Texas to find themselves a red cow. Kind of funny though that the first sighting of a red cow in Israel was during the time that I arrived there in preparation for writing Tea with Terrace. So
really?
I was actually
I
there
didn't know
at
that.
the exact same time that the first press reports came out that finally, after searching for decades, a red heifer has finally been found in Jerusalem, and that was the exact time I was there prior to writing Tea with Terrace. So that was in the early spring of 2002. Shows you how long we've been doing this. But anyway, they're looking for a red cow and don't know that the Adamah Parah is actually a bloody red man of the earth. He is the same fellow as is described as the man who comes out of Edom, who is dressed appropriately. So if anybody wants to have fun with my wild shirts as I wear them, according to Yeshaya, we have it on official record. He says that he is dressed appropriately. So if you don't like my wild shirt, take it up with God. Yeah, take it up with God. And although he will be dressed in red for this particular event because he's going to be bludgeoned. That's what a sacrifice is all about, after all. But it really is no big deal. It's a big deal what Yahweh does with it, but in terms of the victim, all that I will be losing is my corporeal body, which is appropriate since I have been Dod's Bashar, and Bashar means corporal body and herald. So that's the part that I'm going to be shedding. So I'm going to get my vacation after all, because I can't be herald if I lose it, I guess. I don't think that's the way that Yahweh was going to interpret it, however. But nonetheless, that is, I am the guy that they've been searching for. They just didn't know it. And we will fulfill Teruah. And Yahweh is going to play a mighty assist as he introduced us to the idea of the recognition that the final Zeroah would be the Adamah Parah. They're one and the same. That we learn, at that time that this is our fate to fulfill this Moed Mikre, but that we were told specifically that after the harvest on Teruah, which is the day of the herald, so it's appropriately named, that there would be this final gleaning of Israelites that would be taken from the olive tree by striking a stick. And the Choter, which is the definition that both Dod and Yeshaya ascribe to the man who is going to lay down his life here, is the Choter. So he is that stick. he dislodges the final remnant of Israel that is harvested on the evening of Teruah, and then the morning of Teruah, the following day on a Shabbat, is this sacrifice of the red heifer, where he prepares the adulterous woman. And we had thought that it was going to be Eliani's responsibility to encourage as many Israelites to come to Jerusalem as possible so they could benefit, because God's going to release copious amounts of water from underneath the Temple Mount, which are going to be cleansing. You got the ash of the Adamah Parah, the red heifer, that will be purifying. You've got the flames that Yahweh is going to ignite that will also serve as a means to purge God's people of their religious guilt. And it's going to be this great show. It's going to be explained by Elia. But we thought that leaving Yashaya, that since I was supposed to be so protective in my crag, that's my name, of protecting those left behind, that it was a little bit curious as to why Yahweh then went to describe the fact that he's going to bring his people home, and he lists all these places around the world that he's going to draw his people home. And you say, well, what's the deal with that when we're supposed to be doing this on Teruah? There's not a lot of time to bring them home after the harvest. Well, that's why Captain Kirk is going to be asking the spirit that's driving that white chariot to scoot aside, because that's a one-day affair. It leaves.
Yeah. Gotta go quick.
As the sun begins to rise on Teruah, and it returns that same day to Jerusalem from where it has left, bringing this remnant from around the world into Jerusalem. So it sets us up in a far more favorable situation, where it's not just the remnant of Israel in Jerusalem that are going to benefit. God's going to provide transport and bring his people in from around the world.
Amazing, isn't it?
And it's pretty reassuring that that's going to happen. And when you think about it, it really needed to happen. There was no other way to make this work. And clearly by that time, the world's at war. The planet's devastated. You are not going to book a flight by going to Expedia. You're going to need this. There will be no cruise ships. The Yahweh Express is going to be the only way into Jerusalem. And the beauty of this moment, too, is that the time of Jacob's troubles is over. The wars are over. The jihadists are purged. There's no more progressive pimps. The UN is gone. All of it is in a position now where we're going to move towards the family reunion on Kippurim, and then the return to the Garden of Eden thereafter. So it's a marvelous situation that we're headed towards. I also noticed that Leon, I think she's been working with Kevin on this. We have a new Yahweh blog in the lower left part of our screen. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm being scolded to say that I haven't been delivering a blog, and that it is a vlog because it's video and not written. But since I'm a man of words, I prefer a blog because I do lots of blogging all day long. I also noticed that we have a text page up that seems to be providing a real-time transcription of this show. Wow. That would be for the hearing impaired. That's opposed to having the person that's doing
the ASL, right?
ASL. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, you didn't interpret to what I was trying to say there.
No.
Okay, I probably was swearing and didn't even know, but I'm unqualified in all languages, including ASL, which may be why I was chosen for this. All right. Slate. So clean slate. Moshe was the same base as Moses. He said he didn't speak Hebrew very well, so I'm assuming he wasn't great with Egyptian either. So thus says Yahweh. You know that guy? He's
Yeah.
he happens to be God. Thus says Yahweh, the vast array of spiritual implements. I am passionate about and jealous for Zion, the signs posted along the way, with an enormous desire for exclusivity in the relationship. Further, with a furious rage and debilitating venom, I am envious and I'm aroused to jealousy and angry for her. This is from Zechariah. Now we've turned into the 8th chapter, having left the 2nd chapter of Zechariah. Those are some fighting words.
Mhm.
First of all, it is devastating for Pauline Christianity. According to Paul, love is not jealous. So he would be wrong, wouldn't he?
He would very much
Yahweh
be
just
wrong.
said, I am jealous for exclusivity in the relationship. I've had my share of romantic interests along life's way, and I'm not sure that I've ever experienced a romantic interest where the other party wasn't or I wasn't jealous for the relationship. If you don't really give a damn, if you're neutral about it, if you're not jealous to some degree of wanting that person's attention, then it's
Not much relationship.
yeah, it's not much of a relationship. And so Yahweh, and you have to be careful here. Yahweh is not saying that all human relationships need to be monogamous. His son had 18. And if you count Jonathan, whom he certainly had a great deal of love for, it would be 19. So that's hardly exclusive now, is it?
Hardly.
And it was true with almost everyone that Yahweh worked through. If you look at the father of Yisrael, he had 2 wives and 2 concubines. So God, and never once did God said, I only want you to have 1 wife or 1 husband. Never said. So adultery, when it's spoken of in the Torah and prophets, is not speaking of the marriage kind of adultery that we think of. It is spiritual adultery, religious adultery, false gods, pursuing the religion as opposed to a relationship. And so God is so tired of his people being religious, and they cheat on him with the Hashems and the Adonais and the G-Ds by eliminating his name, and then they cheat on his son with false messiahs. So God just saying, I'm tired of you being a cheat. And I'm zealous for an exclusive relationship, just you and me in that relationship. And we just don't have any room for false gods or religions. And that's what he is saying here. I'm passionate about this. And he focuses on, his passion is focused on Zion. Now, why do you think he would say Zion here?
Saying it's where the Ark of the Covenant is, where the temple.
The Ark of the Covenant is on Zion. Yeah, Zion is the ridge line between. This might be a clue. Is the ridge line between the summit of Mount Moriah, where the house for Yahweh's name was and will be, and the bottom of that ridge line, a fellow that the city was named after, the city of Dode. He had his home there towards the bottom of that ridge line called Zion. So Zion is the ridge line between Moriah, where the top of the ridge is Yahweh's home. The bottom of the ridge line is Dode's home. It's separated by the 2 valleys. And so that's Zion. The word actually means signs posted along the way. So why would you think Yahweh would use Zion as the thing that he's zealous for?
It's the witness. It's the story. It's all wrapped up there.
Yeah, his story is there. It's the signs present a witness to his restoring testimony. So far, all those things are true, but that's not the answer.
Okay. All the sacrifices?
Nope. The sacrifice took place on Moriah and Zion. That's also true. Not the answer. He's talking about a relationship here that he is zealous for. And this is an exclusive relationship that he desires. His house is at the top of this Zion ridge line, and his son's, Dod's house, is at the bottom of that ridge line. And the religions that he's most antagonistic towards, Christianity and Judaism, for foisting false messiahs, false sons of God on billions of people, millions and billions of people, robbed him of that relationship, that the productivity of the relationship with his son. And it's those signs that proclaim the purpose of the collaboration between father and son, Dod and Yahweh. And Yahweh wants to go back to that. He wants the people to pay exclusive attention to the signs that explain what he and his son accomplished. And their homes are connected via that ridge line on Zion. And you go from Dod's home to Yahweh's home, from God to being in the covenant by following those signs. So this is what God is passionate for.
Much better answer, by the way.
You like that answer? I thought I'd share it with you because it's a good one. It's not that you had wrong answers. It's just that that is the right answer.
Focus.
And it's why it's an enormous desire for exclusivity in the relationship. It's passion by Gadol. And you probably know that Gadol is related to Gabor. It's same root, and it speaks of Dod being the most courageous and capable man of God. Further, with a furious rage and debilitating venom, I am envious, aroused to jealousy and anger for her. And the her is Zion, which is this connection with signs between Dod's home and Yahweh's home, the covenant family, and the God who made it all possible. And the reason he's so furious is because of what Judaism and Christianity have done. First it was the Rabbi Paul who perpetrated the myth of Jesus Christ. There was no person named Jesus Christ. He's nothing but a crude counterfeit of Dod David mixed in with a heavy dose of Dionysus. And God calls Paul the plague of death. Mm-hmm. He's disgusted by Paul. And we spent the Appalling Christianity episode today by ripping Paul to shreds. His statement that the Torah is a curse and that it cannot save. We examined the actual passage in Devarim that Yahweh states where God states just the opposite. He says the benefit and the restoration of a soul is by observing and benefiting from his words in the Torah. And yet Paul twisted that to say, no, you're condemned and the Torah is a curse. So we just completely repudiated the Christian New Testament, Paul, Galatians, and Christianity as a result of that. There's no other rational conclusion but that the original is false. But by piling that lie where they did on top of the truth about the connectivity, this connection between father and son, the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim between Yahweh and Dod, his beloved son, which provides the only means to salvation, the only means to reconcile our relationship, to enter God's home, to be part of his eternal family. And for Christianity, through the Rabbi Paul, to have mucked all that up, that's a really big deal. That's why he's, and colloquial English would say he's really pissed off. You can say it in the biblical phraseology of furious rage and debilitating venom, or that he is aroused to anger. And then, to make matters worse, rabbis also foisted another false messiah, robbing God's Son and God of all they had achieved together, depriving 2,000 years of Yehudim of the benefit that was achieved. So, yeah, God's upset. He's exceedingly disappointed with what his people have done. And keep in mind, Paul is a Jew. He's not only a rabbi, he is a Jew. He is a religious Jew. And he did this to everyone. And, in the process, Christianity creates this aura that by saying that Jews crucified the Christian God, that Jews are demeaned, they're dehumanized, so that Paul could lay claim to all the promises that God made to his people. And God's furious at that. So God's jealous for the relationship he achieved with Dod, his beloved son, who fulfilled Chakmah Choter, so that we could be immortal, perfected, and adopted into the covenant family, enriched and empowered. And he's angry that other rabbis, Paul and Rabbi Akiba particularly, deceived everyone by replacing what they had achieved with the false Messiah. So it makes Zechariah 8:2 a very powerful statement. Now, Yahweh may have abandoned Israel, and he did millennia ago, because he could no longer endure his people's religious adultery. But he has not forgotten that he once loved Israel, and with a divine passion. And his son is the groom that is spoken of in Numbers 5, the story of the adulterous woman. Mm-hmm. That adulterous woman is Israel. And she is being prepared to be betrothed to the one who wants her back. And Dod is the returning king of Yisrael, and stating that his glory is in his family, he wants Israel back. So he is the groom that is pining for his bride, but knows that his bride is disgusting and needs to be cleansed. And so that's why they brought in the Adam Parah to do that job. That's the purpose of the Adam Parah, is to fix the adulterous woman that is Israel. So that's the story that is being told here. Now, unfortunately, Yehudim have been at the forefront of cheating Yahweh and his beloved son by foregoing the relationship in the Bereth covenant that God intended and choosing to be overtly religious instead. And the problem has only gotten worse with the Babylonian Talmud, and is at a DEFCON 5 state with the Haredim. To ignore God's hatred for Judaism is to disregard the entirety of the Torah and Naba'im. It is the single most prevalent theme in the Torah and the prophets, is God's overt hatred for Judaism. So Judaism says that which they acknowledge as a religion, and they claim to study the Torah, and yet they're not bright enough to know that God hates Judaism. How can you claim to be Torah observant and not recognize that God's issue with his people is religion?
You don't read the Torah.
Well, you don't understand.
They claim to be experts at it. They claim to spend their lives observing it.
Well, that's the one that they wrote.
Well, they do spend a lot more time on the one that they wrote, which is called the Talmud, but yes, which they call the Torah. And they give the real Torah lip service. They'll parade it around. They dress it up like a whore, and they'll kiss it and fondle it and put a crown on it and pretend that that is their book. But the thing they really want to study when you go to a yeshiva is the arguments of the rabbis in the Talmud, which they just lie and say it's a Torah. They'll even claim that it is the oral Torah that was given to the 7 elders of Israel. But the 70 elders of Israel were expressly excluded from those discussions with Yahweh. And even when, Moshe has a meltdown in Numbers 11, and he says, the job you've given me is impossible. These people are irascible. They're embittered. They have no sense of even appreciation for anything we have done for them. This is an impossible job. I cannot do this job, in particular, alone. And so Yahweh says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here for you. Good. I'm going to take the spirit that I gave you. I'm going to divide it 71 ways. And I want you to pick some really old guys. And you're going to split the spirit among those 71 of you. And then they can shoulder some of the burden. But the burden that they were shouldering was the religiosity and the argumentative nature of the Israeli people. It wasn't to speak for Yahweh. Mm-hmm. They never did speak for Yahweh. So Moshe retained the responsibility of speaking for Yahweh, but now he had a support team that would take the burden of the irascible nature of the people. So, you look at the one prophet that the rabbis can't wait to come back. They are so proud that they set a seat for him and a place setting for him and a glass. They pour a glass of wine for him. They even have somebody go answer the door to let him in. And you say, how can you really be that stupid?
It's gonna be good when he does show up.
Elijah, is famous for one thing, and that's when he accused and debated and bested and then eliminated all of the religious and political influence in Israel. Mm-hmm. His thing is, he is the most anti-political, anti-religious prophet among all of them. And he didn't just best them in debate, didn't just mock them. He killed them.
Yeah.
He killed them.
So, I'm hard-pressed to find another prophet that did anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're dealing with Gideon, he wasn't out trying to find religiosity or politics in the people. He was just trying to find some that were reliant on Yahweh, that they could win the battle by carrying some torches and the like. And but this is the only time. Well, listen, read the book of Yeshua, the first 10 chapters, all they are is, God, I hate your religion. Would you stop being so stupid and stop being religious? You start reading the Torah, what is it? It's God complaining that his people are religious. So it's pervasive, but Elia is the one time where there is an actual debate between the religious and, it's not really a debate, it's a roast. It's a roast. And so that's what he's famous for. So it's the dumbest of all people for them to want back. I mean, if you're going to be religious and Judaism is your thing, then the guy you want back is Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Because he's Mr. Religion, or Daniel would be another one. You could have either one of those two, and
they go along.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with them if you want to be religious. But you're not going to. Eliah's my guy. I think is some people have been saying recently, particularly with the snark that's been part of these shows, is that Elia and I are a lot alike. If you don't like me, you aren't going to like Elia. So we're both exceedingly sarcastic and try to be a bit witty and make light of the idiots that promote religion and politics. If you follow my posts on X, they're all a bit witty, and they're mocking even the ones on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So thus says Yahweh, I will return and restore Zion, the signs posted along the way, and will live and remain in the midst of Jerusalem. And then the source of guidance on reconciliation, Jerusalem, will be called the reliable and trustworthy mountain of Yahweh, of the spiritual messengers, the mount of the set apart. Zechariah, memorable men of Yah, 8:3. Here we have another affirmation that God's name is not Hashem, not G-D, not Adonai the Lord, not the Holy One, blessed be He. Not Jesus. Nope, not Christ. Not Allah. Not our Rahman. Venue or Shiva or any such nonsense. Not only don't we all worship the same God, the one real God doesn't want to be worshipped. And he has a name. And his name is presented some 7,000 times in his testimony. And he, even when he introduces himself by name and says, I only have one name, and this is my one name for all time, all places, all people, without exception, he actually tells us what the name means, because he tells us it's based on the verb haya, to exist. And he tells us how to pronounce it. It's in the Torah, which gives you the pronunciation of the wa, and haya, the verb to exist, has the yod and the hey. And Israel, until you are willing to forego the rabbinical lie that says that God's name should not be spoken, no one knows how to speak it, out of respect for Yahweh's name, we cannot say it, until you give up on that tripe and you stop erasing Yahweh's name from your lives, then I'm here to tell you that all you're doing is irritating God, that he is not listening to you, doesn't have any interest in you, is not going to help you, will not respond to you. You have no benefit in participating in any one of your holy days, counting the Omar as the current of them that they're celebrating. And it's a commemoration of the mass death of Rabbi Akiba's apostles and acolytes. I think 15,000 of them died. I'll tell you what, first of all, if you have 15,000 followers that are your disciples, you're an idiot. You most certainly are not speaking for God. So we can get that out right from the beginning, that all you are is a cult leader at that point. I can look around here and I can count my followers as a wife, a friend, and two really handsome and cute fur faces. And that's the way it's going to be. If you've got a following like that are your disciples, you're in serious trouble. Second of all, if you lose 15,000 of them, you probably are not serving Yahweh. And then if you're going to go and celebrate that, and then also tie it into the death of a rabbi that you have associated with writing the Zohar, which is about as demonic as any book in any religious lore, the textbook of Kabbalah, Yoki. I mean, every aspect of this is perverted. And they will even say that it is it commemorates Rabbi Akiba's choice of Bar Kokhba. He had a false Messiah that brought the wrath of Rome on you, that caused the diaspora leading to the Holocaust. He's the founder of Rabbinic Judaism, and it was a false Messiah. Can't you be smart enough to figure out That's really stupid. And so they have a holiday. They're celebrating it now, counting the Omer. There's one person that they don't cite to justify it. Yahweh. Just like Purim. Purim is based upon the myth of Esther and the story of what occurred in Persia, Babylon, except for the fact the whole story is fake. And it's easy to disprove. It's dumb to the dum-dum. Anyway, Yahweh says that he's going to return to Jerusalem. So why, when Yahweh says this, it's very clear and easy to read. I'm going to return. Shub means return and restore. And it's in Yahweh's voice. Yahweh says, I, first person, will return and restore. I'm going to, at the appropriate time, I will come back to and renew. Shub is interesting because it's the line that I have fun with out of Seinfeld's The Soup Nazi episode, No Shub for You. And it's no soup for you in that episode, but I like it better as no shub for you. Yahweh says, until you shub to me, return to me, I will not shub to you. I will not return and restore you. So it's no shub for you. And so they know that clearly everybody knows that it speaks Hebrew, reads Hebrew, that is capable of translating Hebrew. You did it for your glossary. You know what shub means. Shub means to return and to restore. So this is Yahweh, having written in first person, I am going to shub. I'm going to return. That being the case, right here in a clearly proven prophet in Zechariah, why is Rabbinic Judaism so fixated on the return of a nameless Messiah, and they never mention the return of Yahweh? Not a rhetorical question.
Right. There's nothing in it for them.
Well, yeah, because Yahweh is anti-religious, and Yahweh takes their whole game away because if you want an answer in Judaism, they'll cite 4 or 5 rabbis and cite the voluminous text that the rabbis have written. They don't cite Yahweh. They don't even mention Yahweh's name. So Yahweh is devastating to Judaism, is the reason. But it requires outright deceit.
Oh yeah.
To tell people that that Messianic Judaism, that we're anticipating the return of our Messiah, and they don't want to do anything until their Messiah returns. What they don't know is their Messiah is anti-religious, and the first thing the Messiah is going to do, and it happens to be Dode, is going to wipe them out, going to exterminate them. Well, so is Yahweh. And where is Yahweh returning? The term Zion is applied to patriotic Jews that have a longing to return to the land, is a Zionist. But the word in Hebrew, it's spelled with a T-S-Y, not a Z-I. And it has the wa is the source of the O sound. So if you want to know how, there's another proof that the wa in Yahweh's name is pronounced as an O, it is Zion, and that comes from the wa. But the TS is drawn as the picture of a man in a comfortable position with the hands in front, and it's a position that you would engage in if you're reading something. And so Zion means signs posted along the way. The wa is a tent peg posted, and the nun, a nun letter is a sperm. So it's a reading about this thing that makes the child more secure, is the basis of Zion. And so God says, I'm going to restore Zion, which means I'm going to restore those signs, which means I'm going to restore the message that connects me and my son, my house, my son's house, the covenant family home, and the home for my name on the ridge line of Zion, Moriah, in the midst of Jerusalem. So do you think there will be, Jerusalem would be the Palestinian capital?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. You think that Allah's going to get to have a temple there, a Dome of the Rock, an Al-Aqsa Mosque?
Yeah, he's so soon.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We know that Dode didn't build the temple. You know, it wasn't allowed to, but he bought the threshing floor. It was a path. I mean, you know that he was weekly, daily, walking that path from his palace, from his house, up there to have a look. And hey, this is where it's going to be. This is what it's going to look like. This, and he was traveling that, signs posted along the way all the time. And you know that him and Yah were walking that together a lot. I mean,
yes.
Can you imagine?
Plus, Yahweh provided Dode with a diorama of this is what's going to be built, and Dode acquired most of the materials to build it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and because Dode is a prophet, he understood that when Yahweh said, you can't do it because you have blood on your hands, that what that meant is that when you return, the blood that's on your hands is going to be the blood of the bull and of the goat that you're going to use to anoint the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. And at that time, oh, by the way, you get the opportunity to build the eternal house for Yahweh's name. That's the one that counts. I don't want you wasting your time building the one that's going to be destroyed. I want you to build the one that's going to be the most beautiful and that will endure forever. And, you know, the prophecy that brought me to all of this, the one that is responsible for these 35 books and that translating style, that amplified translating style, is 2 Samuel 7.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 Samuel 7 is all about Dode's house and Yahweh's house.
Right.
And about that connection between them. And Jerusalem is the city that Dode acquired for Yisrael. Prior to Dode, it was a Jebusite community. And it's Dode that acquired it and built it up. It became the city of Dode.
Yeah, the source of teaching and guidance.
Yes. Oh, of course. And then Jerusalem is from Yara, meaning the source of teaching, guidance, and instruction, and Shalom on reconciliation.
Right. How do you get back?
Yeah, the name of the city. So then the source of guidance and reconciliation will be called Kara. And it's going to be called Kara because the dates that are important here are Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah in your 6,000 Yah 2033. And that's the day that the Bikri are going to be celebrated in Jerusalem, just as the first three were celebrated in Jerusalem. The last three will be celebrated in Jerusalem. And all of this means that God's commitment to that ridgeline Zion, the signs that are between his home and Dode's home, they're trustworthy and reliable. And this is the mountain of Yahweh. This is the place of the set apart. This is the place where the Adam of Parah is going to have his sacrifice. It's the place where Yahweh's temple is going to be rebuilt. It's the place where Dode will have his throne. It's the place where God's people will be restored. So although it is never discussed within Judaism or Christianity, Yahweh is returning to Jerusalem to restore Zion, which is the ridgeline between his home and that of his son on Mount Moriah. Pretty much destroys Roman Catholicism, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's not coming to the Vatican or St. Peter's. No. Too bad, because he could meet his mommy there and the Queen of Heaven. Strike up an affair. He could have a double date with Dode and Israel as his bride, and the Lord can have it on with the Queen of Heaven and the Mother of God. This Pope, by the way, has it big for Mary statues. He's constantly found praying to, talking to, bowing before Mary statues. You just go, how can they be that stupid? Mary, first of all, is never existed. Second of all, the name means rebellious and embittered, a malcontent. It is the worst name you could possibly have. The third, it is based, the Mother of God and Queen of Heaven titles, the Madonna and Child titles they give to Mary are exacting of Astarte, Asherah, which is the Babylonian goddess that was called those very titles, that Yahweh goes out of his way to say, I despise this. And it was the very thing that Elijah put out of business. So, just got to be stupid. You really don't give a crap for God. When you're religious, you're just way too into your pretend gods, the ones that you've made to like you. They're like you, so they like you. Now, when all of this occurs on Yom Kippurim and your 6,000 Yah, rather than being in the city of religious pollution and deceptions, Jerusalem will reclaim its glory as the city of guidance on reconciliation. And this time, one place will rise above all others in God's mind, with Moriah being the most unique, unreligious, non-political, special place on the planet.
Talk about Kodesh.
It is Kodesh. Imagine, thus says Yahweh of the spiritual implements. Once again, elderly men and women in the streets and plaza of Jerusalem, each person with their staff and walking stick in their hands because of their many days. And the countrysides and boulevards of the city will be filled with boys and girls laughing and playing in her streets. Thus says the whoop whoop of Israel, of the spiritual envoys and her God. Indeed, it is wonderful in the eyes of the remnant of the people, because in these days, and also marvelous in my sight, proclaims Yahweh of the spiritual implements. Well, what we have here, fellas, is that Yahweh, first and foremost, wants us to know that if you want to be here and celebrate any of this, observe any of this, enjoy any of this, the first thing that you'd need to know is, thus says Yahweh. And if you don't have a Yahweh in your life, you're not going to be there. You're not going to survive to this point. You're not going to be included in the festivities. It is the first step to God. It won't get you there, but it'll at least put you in the position where you can get there from that point. And you just have to reject the rabbis, reject the culture, and pay attention to what God said. And what God said is, thus says Yahweh. The Shabbat is an interesting term, and Yahweh uses it all the time to speak of the heavenly host, this command and control regimen of spiritual implements. He uses it, 3 times in this one statement. And what it says is that Yahweh cannot, because he's a 7-dimensional construct, has to be a dimension beyond the universe that he's created. And our universe, by all indications, is 6 dimensions. the three that we can perceive, layered with time as the fourth, and then dark energy and dark matter are likely dimensions as the fifth and sixth dimension, putting Yahweh in the seventh dimension. And everything Yahweh says is that 6 + 1 = 7 anyway, the universe being 6 dimensions, God is 1 = 7, puts God in the seventh dimension. As a 7-dimensional construct, he cannot enter 6 dimensions. It's just like you can't, as a 3-dimensional being, Kirk, you cannot enter the flatland of your illustrations.
Nope.
You can interact with flatland with paintbrushes and pens, but you cannot enter it. Same thing is true with God. God will not fit into flatland. So what God has to do to present himself to us, to interact with us, it has to be through this regimen of spiritual envoys and implements that follow his instructions. And that's why he wants us to identify with them, understand that this is how he must interact with us. He is going to one day empower and enrich us to the point that he can bring us into the seventh dimension, but we'll have to lose our physicality when that occurs. But he himself can, if he wants to, he can project his nephesh soul and take a tiny bit of matter, convert energy into matter, and place his nephesh soul into that to manifest himself in any way he wishes to, but it's just a projection of himself, a tiny aspect of himself. This notion that Jesus was fully man and fully God is, well, what's that word that I keep on using? Stupid. Yeah, stupid.
Foolology.
Foolology. So here I used to not be able to say retard because one of the editors had a conniption fit with the term retard. But retarded is a perfectly good word, and it speaks to the mindset of the religious. They are retarded. You would be religious if you weren't retarded. It's based on faith, not knowing. Belief is the antithesis of understanding. That's why Conley says, who do you believe? This, that, and the other. What do you believe? Don't believe diddly squat. What's the purpose of believing? Why? And if I believed it, why would you even ask?
Can't prove it to you.
Can't prove it.
Yeah.
But if I know, I can prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody knows, you'd think you'd want to know what they know.
Right.
Teach me what you know.
That seems better. I want some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want some of that. So here we have people in Jerusalem. And the first thing you notice is they're all bowing down in worship, right?
No,
Oh,
having a good time.
I got that part wrong. Okay. So they're not bowing. No, they're not bowing down. What you have is even the old guys.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit irritated by this because, up to this point I've been, kid and our young man. And now we're talking about old guys. In fact, he has a prophecy where he specifically speaks of 70, which is the age that I am, and uses old fart twice.
I don't even want to tell him what my age is.
We were getting along fine until that point.
Yeah, you had to he had to bring that up again. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. And he throws out this, line, 2000.
Yep.
Well, no, 3,450 years before I can respond to it.
Yeah.
And how fair is that? But he's got the old folks. They're walking around because they're with a walking stick, aren't they? The walking stick's in their hand. No person have a walking stick, and you're not in the streets with a walking stick unless you're walking around, which means they're on their feet. They're not bowed down, are they?
No.
And they're taking a walk. They're out exploring. They're not being religious. They're not on their knees bowing. They're not worshiping.
No swords, no ARs.
Yeah, that's right. They're not fighting anybody. They got no swords. They're out taking a walk, and the one implement they have with them is a walking stick.
Maybe it's a golf club.
Yeah, if you go on a hike, I don't know if you guys have ever did backpacking.
Oh, yeah.
You go on a hike. Yeah, one of the things that's always nice to have is a walking stick.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they are. They're in the streets of the plaza of Jerusalem with their staffs and walking sticks in their hands. And then you've got boys and girls that are laughing and playing. They're not bowing down and worshiping either, are they? So this idea you go to heaven, oh boy, we're going to have a worship service in heaven. I'm a prayer warrior. We're going to pray him into heaven. Nope. God now has the world the way he wants it. And the kids are walking around giggling and having a great time. And the more mature are out walking among them. Indeed, he says this is wonderful. And then he also tells us, guess who else is there? The remnant of the people.
Yes.
And they are our responsibility. We bring them there. We are responsible for them being there. We prepare them even to be there. And God says that's marvelous in his sight. Now, if the remnant of the people are there, and you got the old guys that are walking around, you got the kids that are playing, and by the way, what he's speaking of here isn't actually making fun of my God, but he makes fun of me, so I guess it's fair play. That he's not really speaking of old farts and youngsters. He really isn't. What he's saying here is that those with the staff that are older, they're actually more mature in their relationship with him. And so with the staff, they're leading the flock.
Yeah.
They're caring for the flock, nurturing the flock, taking care of the flock. And it's the youngsters that are having a great time with their more mature shepherds who are guiding them, because it is fun to learn about God, to grow in this relationship. And so when we dealing with that remnant is going to be comprised of all youngsters. There's not going to be a single person who is going to be in the covenant family for more than 10 days by the time this occurs. They're youngsters. And there's going to be the rest of us who have been part of the covenant family for decades that have read all of these books. We have verified the translations. We've been part of this struggle to bring this remnant home, and we're going to be their shepherds. We're the more mature fellows that are walking around the streets looking after them.
Good duty.
Yeah.
Pretty good duty. And it makes this prophetic and profound, because that is the remnant that we're responsible for. And the other part of it that is so wonderful is God saying, these things are really, really wonderful. Pala, they're marvelous in my sight. So that means that we prevail. You can't have not succeeded. If you don't succeed, God's not saying, hey, man, this remnant that you brought to me and the more mature leading the flock of the youngsters who are having a great time together, and God says that's marvelous, the likelihood that we don't prevail is zero.
Right.
It's a prophecy. Yahweh has conveyed this prophetically. He has already seen it, and he's happy with the result, which means that, we can take comfort.
Marvelous in my sight. Yes.
That we did a good job. And I think we are doing a good job. I mean, I'm sure that the job can be done better than we're doing it, but I don't know who you'd find to do it better than we're doing it. And we're doing it as enthusiastically, as passionately, as boldly as is possible.
We can.
Yeah. So peace is coming to Jerusalem. Teaching is coming to Jerusalem. Guidance is coming to Jerusalem. And Wookiee is coming to the family hour of the Yahweh blog. I don't know if you saw the Twistianity show today. I went and got a nice glass of water so that I'd have something that keeps my throat lubricated. And I set it down on the table, and Wookiee went and drank the whole thing.
Yep. There
It
you
was
go.
nice of me to get a glass of water and put it on the table for. for the Wook, isn't it? The Wook is now celebrated by the orchid that is here. So this is going to be a marvelous time. By the way, there is an inside joke here. Those that are having a great time, that are laughing and playing, the children, they are Sha'ak. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's the name of Yishak.
Oh,
Yishak,
yeah.
the first child of the covenant.
Oh, yeah, laughter.
Yeah, he's
Of
named
course.
Laughter, Love, and Play. Leia, you need to put a little more in there. Wookiee doesn't like to. You have to do a complete dive into it. But Leia was kind enough to pour me a glass of iced tea, and the Wookiee decided that it must be for him. So,
of course,
it is Wookiee's world. We're just living.
Yeah, Wookiee world. Yeah.
Yeah. So, thus says Yahweh of the spiritual messengers, Yahweh Saba, and it's Ko, which means thus says. Behold, I myself will deliver, and liberate. Yasha. Yasha is the Hebrew word that can be translated save, but its primary connotation is to deliver from harm's way, to liberate, to free. And so, okay, Wookiee, you just make sure that is to your satisfaction. Yes, he prefers the black tea to the green. That's just a good thing.
Just in case you take a note.
Yeah, just taking notes. Want to pay attention.
Yeah, write that down.
Yeah. Okay. So, thus says Yahweh of the spiritual messengers, I myself will deliver and liberate my people from the country toward the sunrise, and from the region entering from the direction of the setting sun. The setting of the sun. Okay. So let's just think about this for a moment. First of all, Yahweh's coming back and saying, I'm a liberator. Did Yahweh ever use that term in reference to himself and his people? Are you familiar with any place where Yahweh says, I'm a liberator?
I did it with Moshe.
Yes. You've heard this it's a summation document. It's actually the first text message ever downloaded from a cloud to a tablet. So you're familiar with that? The first ever download from a cloud to the to a tablet? Yes. Moshe's the guy that did that. Well, actually, Yahweh did it. Moshe gets credit for it. But it's the first statement on that first of the two tablets downloaded from the cloud. And it says that, I am Yahweh, your God, who liberated you from being oppressed as slaves in Mitzrayim. So that's the first statement Yahweh wrote in stone. So he likes to come full circle, and he's coming right back to that exact same thing. Don't let us get in the way, Wookiee, with your tail here. You just put that tail right there in my face, and it's a fine looking tail. No, he's fine.
Yeah, fine tail it is.
It is a fine look. If I had a tail like that, I'd show it too.
Right.
But
please don't.
Please don't.
7 foot tall with a tail, huh?
Okay.
Okay.
So what Yahweh is saying here is that he's going to liberate his people one more time. And this is that chariot, Kirk, that you have volunteered to drive. That's how he does this.
Only if co-captain goes with me.
Yep. Okay. So you get a spiritual co-captain. And it is through that white chariot that Yahweh is liberating his people from a world in flames.
Yeah.
A world gone amok in religion and politics and militancy and patriotism and Trumpitis and all of that sort of thing. And he is therefore the liberator of his people. And he tells us specifically that he is liberating them, Yatsa, another exodus from Babel. and that would mean religious, political, and geographic Babylon, which would be from the Islamic Middle East, from which would be geographic Babylon, from the influence of the Roman Catholic Church throughout Europe and the Americas, even South America, the influence of the Roman Catholic Church, which is religious Babylon, and political Babylon is the United States of America. So he is deliberating his people from those places. So he's coming full circle, which is what Yahweh always does, and every good storyteller does. And he begins by saying, I'm going to save them from the people to the east. What direction is Mecca and Yathrib, the birthplace of Islam? Where do Arabs come from? Yeah, from the east. So I'm going to liberate them from Islam. What would be west of Israel that would be considered, or will be considered, will become, is now becoming the most vicious enemy of God's people, the one that Yasha'yah warned his people would betray them and impose the two-state solution?
That's the U.S. You draw the little lines, where you did before, where you get Alaska all the way down to through New York all the way down to Florida.
Yeah, it's correct. It's the United States. And so Yahweh is going to free his people from the influence of the United States and from Islam. And today, I'm not sure there's much of a distinction between them. Trump, the MAGAs are going to need a new president because the Muslims bought theirs.
They stole him.
Yeah, they bought him fair and square. Yeah. $16.5 billion worth of bribes was enough to buy a president of the United States, and they now own him. So MAGAs, you need a new guy. So Yahweh, but by the way, you couldn't do worse. Yahweh is saying that he will liberate his people from the sunrise to the sunset, from dawn to dusk, which is the other way of interpreting this, from the sunrise to the sunset. Did you recall, Captain Kirk, since you're going to be co-operating this white chariot, how long is the white chariot about its business?
Just
when does it leave? When does it return?
Just 24 hours, right?
Nope.
No, 12 hours?
Sunrise to sunset, baby. How long is sunrise to sunset?
Well, in Teruah, that's
12.
Yeah.
12.
Okay, half a day. Okay, 12.
This chariot leaves when the mountains have a golden hue for the long rays of the morning sun. It is gone exactly 12 hours when it returns to Jerusalem in time to still capitalize on Teruah. So you have a schedule. You've got to cover the entire world and pick up every eligible Yisraelite and Yehudim. And you've got exactly 12 hours to do it. So sunrise to sunset, that is the white chariot, baby.
Yeah, wow.
You are going to be burning some jet
burning
egg.
Rubber.
Yeah. Feel the need for speed. Light the fires and kick the tires.
That'll teach me to wake up in the morning with an idea.
Yeah, there it will be, man. You thought this would be a joyride, huh? You thought you were going to be Santa Claus going around the world dropping off presents.
Put a whole nother light on the matter.
Nope, you've got to do the entire world. That's why there's a spiritual captain. You are welcome to go on this chariot, but you need to know that it is officially crewed by a ruach of Yahweh.
Right.
And you can be at the controls, but the spirit of Yahweh is going to determine who climbs aboard, and you're going to pick up every eligible Israelite around the world on Teruah. And I think the first time I told Leah this, she says, I'm not buying it. I don't want flying horses, and you're not going to have chariots. And I said, so how you expect that the remnant of Yisrael, which she's done all of her research with her DNA and knows that there are ethnic Jews with Jewish DNA all throughout all these places that Yahweh has on his list. So she knows they're there. And this is the end of the time of Jacob's trouble. The entire world is at war. It's destroying itself. There are no commercial flights at this point. There'd be no freedom at this time. There's no economy in any country at this time. The whole world's in chaos. There are no airports to land a commercial flight. There are no cruise ships. How do you expect them to get there?
No, it has to be this way.
Yeah, if Yahweh's not providing the transport. And at this time, the supernatural is natural. What did Yahweh say he's going to do? He's going to have a banner that scrolls in the sky.
Right.
You know, he is going to perform supernatural wonders. He's going to again light the fire and release the waters for Teruah. This is a time where God's back active, trying to get his people's attention. And he's bringing back two guys that have been to heaven. One that's been there 2,888 years. You know, that's not exactly normal. But, you know, what part of the supernatural are you willing to accept, but not the flying horses?
Where do you draw the line? Right?
Where do you draw the line on all of this sort of thing? And, you know, when you're dealing with God and he's zealous for his people, he just told us, I'm really zealous for his people. He is at this
Really
point,
zealous for his people.
yeah, he's letting it all out.
Yeah. Coming to get you.
Yep. So sunrise to sunset, east to west. God's engaging. He's going to liberate his people. Going to remove them from harm's way. So as a result, the black and the white spiritual chariots of incarceration, really, and emancipation for Israelites the world over are going to be swift. It's going to be a ride where you're going to need your goggles or your eyes are going to water. It's going to occur over the course of 12 hours. This is to coincide with the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah. And the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, those flames and the cascading water, I think the cascading water off the Temple Mount is going to be channeled, but I think that it endures for all 1,000 years of the millennial celebration of Sukkah. So I don't think you have to hurry back to be part of that. But the Shabuah ends at sunset, so you've got to get back to capitalize on the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, the red heifer, before sunset. But the eternal flame that Yahweh has ignited there,
It's going to be there.
I don't see any reason for the flame or the water to ever be extinguished. And there's very few things more spectacular than flames and water. So they're going to run out of ash of the Adamah Parah. I'm a fellow big guy, but we are going to run out of ash for the Adamah Parah, although I'm making a deal with Yahweh when I come back with Elia, and I'm going to be a lean and handsome guy. So yeah, I don't probably have less ash than I would have today, but
Ash.
I'm not sure that'll fly, but we'll negotiate for that anyway. So this is going to coincide with the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, a bloody red man of the earth, and the Zebo men Edom, the one who comes from Edom to save a great many, serving in the role of the red heifer on Yom Teruah. And Yom Teruah is the day of the herald, so it all fits together. It will begin at sunrise, and it will conclude at sunset, although this will be a most unusual day of sunrise and sunset because it's a day of a full solar eclipse, which is the one time that the moon actually intervenes between the earth and the sun. Do you know why it's possible to have a full solar eclipse?
No.
I mean, the moon is obviously a lot smaller than the sun, right?
Yeah.
So how is it possible
Oh, the
to
ratio
have a
of the
full solar
distance.
eclipse where the circumference of the moon is
That could be a
exactly the
distance.
same size as the circumference of the sun?
It's got to
How
be
is
a
that
distance.
possible?
Distance, isn't it?
Do you guys know?
Yeah, it's the ratio of the distance, the circumference of the
So,
moon. And from
The
from the Earth.
moon is 400 times smaller than the sun.
Yes.
the moon is 400 times closer than the sun.
Yeah, okay.
Does 4 resonate with you guys? You heard anything
Yeah.
that's about
440, 400, yes.
Yes, it is the designation of time. For example, there are 40 Yobel, or 40 sets of 50 years, the time of restoring, of freeing, liberating slaves, canceling all debts and returning to the land, the Yobel. Well, this is the 120th Yobel, which is 340s, since the exile from Eden. And the 40 is the number that separate each of the most important celebrations of the Yobel. We left Eden in 3968 BCE. 40 Yobel, 2,000 years thereafter, is the time that Abraham and Yishak came up to Mount Moriah to provide the harbinger that served as to forecast what would occur on Passover exactly 40 Yobel later in exactly the same place, with Yahweh providing his son as the lamb, so that 40 Yobel thereafter, from 1968 BCE to 33 CE, exactly 2,000 years, 40 Yobel, is when Dode arrived to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. And what is 40 Yobel, or 2,000 years, from 33 CE?
2033, yeah.
2033, year 6,000, yeah. So this is the 40 times 50. There will be a full solar eclipse that occurs because the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun. That makes me a lot less important than Dode, which is as it should be, because I represent the lesser light, the moon that reflects the sun's light, who is equated to the sun by Yahweh. The sun is 400 times larger and 400 times further away. And while that is that's the last time it's going to be perceived that way, because the sun is coming to live in our midst. And Yahweh even says that Dode will be as brilliant as the sun before him. All of the elements of this story fit together. He is a marvelous artist. So this day will begin at sunrise. It concludes at sunset on the Shabbat of September 23rd and 24th of 2033. And it will include the sacrifice of the Bashar body provided by Yada, Dode's Bashar and Choter, and the cleansing waters and the purging flames will be orchestrated by Yahweh. And the oratory is going to be spectacular. The oratory, the master of ceremonies, is the great master of sarcasm, the man with wit and wisdom, Elijah. He has been brought back for this purpose. He is going to be the master of ceremony, and he has honed his craft because he's done this exact same thing before. Same animal, same waters, same flame, same interaction with God, same purpose to rid everyone of religiosity and politics. And he's got the oratory down pat. I expect him to have some new one-liners, though. The one-liners that he used back then were great, but I think he's going to up his game. You all get to listen. I'm not sure I'm going to be there. I'll be there.
Right.
I may not get to enjoy it. I might have to see it on a rewind. Maybe it'll play on YouTube after the event. So let it be known, while the rabbinic Judaism has no plan or hope for salvation and is exacerbating Yisrael's estrangement from God, Yahweh has announced a resolution for the Jewish religious problem. He is going to deliver Yehudim, who are free of rabbinical and political influences, and then his team and approach will save them from themselves. And it is a collaborative effort. He's still working through individuals. In this case, Yada, Elia, and the team that supports Yada and Elia we'll all be there. And Dode is going to be orchestrating much of this. So as a reminder, Yahweh is Yasha. He is delivering the remnant to Jerusalem, the source of guidance on reconciliations, just as he promised, so that they can be Yasha, delivered from harm's way, the harm of religion, by Teruah, prior to Kippurim, the homecoming. Therefore, this is Yahweh affirming the purpose of your white chariot there, Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have your instructions. And I don't know if Asher is eating her feet now, but team producer over there, somebody needs to get Asher's attention before she ingests a paw. So Yahweh is providing this deliverance. It's exactly what he said he was going to do through his prophet Yeshua. He's affirming it here through Zechariah. And it's going to happen on Teruah for the benefit of Kippurim. Therefore, Yahweh is affirming the purpose of the white chariot, making the rounds on Teruah in anticipation of the family reunion on Kippurim. And he says, I will go out to get them, and I'm going to bring them so that they can be settled and reside in the midst of Jerusalem, the source of guidance on reconciliation. Then they will be for me as a family, and I will be for them as God, in honesty and integrity, truthfulness and reliability, being right, vindicating, and just. So, Kirk, you're going to have to, you're going to be, I'm just going to tell you, you're in tall company on that white chariot, because Yahweh said he's going too.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's first person. I'm going out to get my people.
Well, I was thinking about
Right.
God lifting.
So, Captain Kirk, you
Yeah.
may have to go down to first officer on this one.
Well, I may be a little baggage boy.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, if you're part of that ride, that's the ride of a lifetime. You pick the right chariot, you pick the right job, and you may be, Yahweh loves working with people. I think you have volunteered as first officer, but quite simply, Yahweh just said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to bring them. Well,
That's what it says. It's isn't it?
And
Yeah.
it's the white chariot, the chariot of light.
Wow.
And he's bringing it back to be settled and to reside in the midst of Jerusalem. So it's leaving from Jerusalem, leaving from heaven, actually, going through the two mountains of Jerusalem, coming back 12 hours later, filled with Israelites and Yehudim, who God's going to settle and reside in the midst of Jerusalem, that will benefit from the sacrifice of the red heifer. And they will be for me as family.
Is there another?
Listen, Kirk, if it weren't for the fact that I have other obligations on that day, that I'm otherwise obliged, I would opt for the white chariot too. But in this case, I got to sign the bloody red one. So, I'll be there when you get back. I'll be there waiting for you. I'm not going anywhere. It's like when Yahweh said, when I asked him, who's going to take care of Asher during the harvest, and he says, so where do you think you're going? I'm going to stay there in Jerusalem, and you will go and bring Israelites back home.
Is there another picture where God's lifting up his people better than this one? Guys, this is just so encapsulated into.
Yeah. And this one now, when you put it into the context of Yeshua 17, where we've gone from the Shabuah harvest into the Teruah harvest and into the sacrifice of the red heifer. And we know that the 2 to 3 ripe olives of the uppermost branches, Yehudim, and then 3 or 4, or 4, should be 4 or 5 of the lower branches that are Israelites that were broken away, and that they are kept safe in the crags and crevices of the rock, and they are awaiting Yahweh's return. And then you've got the this chariot that brings everybody back. One of the things that strikes me about all of this is that while the sacrifice of the Adam Parah is likely to take place during that solar eclipse, and I don't even know what time of day that is, but it's going to take place around the time of the solar eclipse, where the world is going to grow suddenly dark. The thing that would make the most sense is for the ceremony pursuant to the Adamah Parah that Eliah is going to orchestrate, that Yahweh is going to release the water, and that he's going to ignite the flames, that take place reasonably close to dusk, when everybody comes back, and when the fires will just enlighten the whole sky. It's almost like those flames will be Yahweh's presence among his people.
Wow.
But that whole scene is going to be so much more magnificent if it's set against the twilight, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So that would be the reason why they would come back in 12 hours, and so that everybody could witness it. And I think it's a scene that's going to play over and over again. I think that when God has that scrolling nesh, that banner, that we're going to see a reenactment of this whole thing over and over and over again. So just as I think this is an eternal fountain of water and eternal flames, I think that the scrolling banner that Yahweh has above the Temple Mount, I think it's going to play what transpired here. I think Yahweh was very pleased and proud of what not only he envisioned for the fulfillment of this and the preparation for the wedding of his beloved son to Yisrael, that he wants to see it over and over again. He wants us to witness it over and over again. It's a marvelous plan. And I think he's also proud of the people that carry it off, that make it happen. And Yahweh now is reveling in the same thing his son reveled in. Then they will be for me family, and I will be for them God. This is what we're all striving for. This is the moment that we have worked for 24 years, that we will continue to work to the very last moment, last breath we draw. This is what it's all about. Then they will be as family, and I will be for them as God. This is the thing that we have from the beginning most wanted to witness. And I've said so many times that I want the team that has taken the responsibility to make this happen, to bring the mission to fruition. I want us to all be in the back of the room. And I want to watch Yahweh welcome every family member that we contributed to being there, which will be almost all of them.
What a wonderful thing.
And as Yahweh greets each for the first time, you see that big smile and just the hug. I just think the satisfaction that we're going to get to be able to witness it, it's going to be the ultimate reward. That will be the greatest experience of our lives.
Agreed.
Yahweh created the universe to have a family, and we're playing a role to make that possible. It's the purpose of the Yahweh blog. It's the purpose of Family Hour. It's the purpose of all of these books, the purpose of the website. It's all for this. And God's going to do it with emet, with certainty, integrity, reliability. and in being right, vindicating, and just. Emeth Sadak. Zechariah 8:8. This is the affirmation of so much of what we have come to know and share regarding the fulfillment of the fall Moedim, the restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony regarding the appointed meetings that transpire in year 6000 Yah, 2033. Everything from the fourth day of creation with the greater and lesser luminaries, fulfilling the Moed, from life in the garden, where there was no religion, no politics, and God had a perfect relationship with one man and one woman. From the narration of the covenant to the exodus from Egypt, from the anointing of Dode to his fulfillment of the spring Mikre, invitations to be called out and meet in year 4000 Yah. Everything has led to this moment. And our work as the Choter and Adamah Parah, the Nakar and Zeroah, it's all for this. This is why we were called. And the nice thing is that, and I wrote this earlier today, guys, that I went out on a limb. A children, after all, I am a limb, so why not go out in one? Yahweh felt really bad when Moshe crashed and burned. And Moshe had an absolute tizzy fit before God. He just broke down, said, might as well kill me. I can't do this job. And Yahweh didn't scold him. There was no Job moment where, where were you when I did this? And how could you take that attitude? And, how dare you say this? That's one of the reasons we know that Job was false. No, Yahweh had great empathy. He knew that the job was difficult. And what I went and said is that I think Yahweh is teachable. I think Yahweh can learn. And I think he enjoys learning. And I think he can respond to situations better going forward because he has learned. He was in a tough spot with Moshe. His children of Israel didn't want to see God anymore. They didn't want to hear from him. They told him to go away. And so he was reliant on Moshe, and there was no replacement for Moshe. And yet God could not speak to them directly. And there was no prior revelation that could tell Moshe how to respond when things got rough. And so he really, I think God felt badly that he had not done enough to make Moshe feel good about what he was doing. And so that was the first of the exoduses. We're leading the last. And this time, God has provided many, many hundreds of attaboys, praise, accommodation, thank yous. Just as this is, for a job well done. You did what I wanted you to do, kid. Thank you. We did it. We made it happen. And I think God also realizes that the smartest thing he can do is to give us what he couldn't give Moshe, which is prior written instructions as to how to handle these situations.
Yeah.
He also gave us something that he could not give Moshe, which is an education on the cantankerous nature of this flock that we're trying to bring home. We know what we're up against, so nothing surprises us about them. We know that God couldn't prevail with them, so we're not disappointed every day when we fail to break through to the degree that we should based on the message we're delivering. I mean, you'd have to be crazy not to accept what God is offering, and yet they reject it.
They do.
And yet we don't get all emotional worked up over it because we know what we're up against, because God told us. and we're comfortable in the role because God told us we're going to prevail. And rather than taking one spirit and spreading it between 70 people, God says, I'm going to give seven spirits to one person. You know, I recognize that what I did before put the mission at risk. We're not going to do that again.
Mm.
So I think God did learn from the experience with Moshe. I think he felt great compassion for him. And he decided, I'm just not going to put anybody in that position again. I'm still going to work through somebody, but this time I'm going to do what he just did here. He's just told us this is marvelous in his eyes. And it also says that because we encourage some Yehudim to return to Shub to Yahweh, Yahweh's in a position he can Shub on their behalf. And he does great things. And he liberates them, and he brings them back home, and he places them in the city of his son. And this is just a great celebration. And Yahweh has done his utmost to prepare us to deliver on what he now claims is marvelous. It does take a lot of the pressure away, doesn't it?
Well,
I still feel responsibility. You still feel.
Oh yeah, you still have to do the best we can.
You're still totally committed to the job, but what he's done is he's removed the worry, so that you can enjoy the process. No, I just mentioned I've got 12,000 posts on X for 1,300 followers. I was a guy that used to value my efficiency. I thought I was pretty effective. I was a reasonably quick thinker, quick writer, quick actor, and
quick study.
Quick study. I was about getting stuff done. And here I have 12,000 posts for 1,200 followers. And it's because I'm assailing the MAGAs who have huge followings. I'm assailing the conspiratorials who have huge followings. I'm assailing the Muslims who have huge followings. And I'm assailing the progressives and the liberals who have huge followings. And the people that I'm reaching out to, Israelites are religious and they're political. And I'm denouncing their religion and their politics. So it's actually a miracle that we have 1,300.
Yeah, that's a big number.
That's a big number considering. Fortunately, too, there is as Yahweh said for Dode, I have provided a peaceful respite from all of your enemies in this house, that's the way he begins 2 Samuel 7. Well, our respite and peaceful place from all of our enemies happens to be now on Facebook, where it is a really congenial environment, and it feels like home.
Mm-hmm.
And here, we're growing at almost 100 friends a day.
Wow!
Without advertising or promotion, and although Asher says, "I know you put me up there," and that's selling tail wagging and stuff, and I know you've done it with Wookiee, so you're selling dogdom, and we're cute. No, but without advertising and on a message that God couldn't make resonate with his people, with that target audience that represents 0.2% of the world's population, and recognizing that with everything we write, we're pissing off 40%
of them.
Yeah, so. Under the
small demographic.
Yeah, under the circumstances, we're doing pretty good. But it takes all the pressure off. It means that we can enjoy the process. Our work will pay dividends. We will be successful. And Yahweh has done everything he can to show how this entire story comes together, particularly at the end that we play such an important role. He has brought all of these details together so we understand how each of them fits, and understanding that is tremendous in terms of its confidence. You can turn on the lights, look into the camera, and say, this is what's going to happen. I want you to be part of it. It's exciting. It's going to be the greatest show on earth.
Yeah.
Join us. I'll tell you the date, the minute, the purpose, the players, the result. Heretofore, that's been impossible. So, this is really an extension of all that has transpired over time. Yahweh has called Yehudim home, and they have returned at long last to Yahweh, to Jerusalem. Israel and the Bereth covenant are now one and the same. Family again. It has transpired as written, honorably, with integrity, truthfully, reliably. The Torah has led to this. The prophets have confirmed it. Dode has fulfilled it, and Yahweh loves it. All is Sadak, right with the world. So we could have concluded our review of the prophets at this place, considering the magnitude of the previous statements. But there's also something else, always something else with Yahweh. He's never finished teaching. For those who sometimes will claim and say that we're a little verbose or I'm a little verbose, well, I'm following a really good example.
Suit. Yeah.
Yeah. And while this is a very long sentence by way of introduction, Yahweh is saying that we have arrived because those who have listened to the prophets, who spoke as the home for the covenant family as it was being built, who remained steadfast, that they are the living embodiment of everything that has been conveyed. As Nathan to Dode conveyed what would transpire about these events to us in 2 Samuel 7. Yahweh told us that his son would be the cornerstone, being set in the house for his name and the glorious 89th Mizmor. And then Shalomo's Sermon on the Mount revealed how the Nakri observant foreigner would prevail in the end, being the second to take transcription from the cloud to a tablet, and told his people to listen to it. So this will be our last statement for this program. It's Zechariah 8:9. We'll promise we'll return back to this tomorrow. And it's Ko Amar, thus says Yahweh of the spiritual envoys. Those of you who will be listening in those days to these words from the mouths of the prophets, who, for the benefit of the relationship and to reveal the straightforward path to get the most out of life in that day, the cornerstone was set and the foundation was established for the house and family of Yahweh, of the spiritual implements. So that is the royal residence, the temple home, as it would be built. Your hands being firm, strong, and your influence steadfast, restoring and empowering. It is a touching moment from our God, proud, pleased with all who have engaged with him to make this possible. The Kevins and the Kirks, the Leahs and the Craigs, the Riches and the Charles, the Joes, The JKs, the Mikes, the many who have engaged, the Moshes, the Yoshas. Look at the great work of Shamuel, and then Dode, Nathan, Yashaya, Yirmiah, Zachariah, Yoel, all of the team, all to this point, all to this purpose, all to this day, all for this house, all for this family, all firmly committed, influential, steadfast, all building towards the same result, all committed to the straightforward path to get the most out of life, all listening, all contributing. On behalf of Yahweh, and we prevail. A family has built a home, one that will endure forever. And fellas, that's the place we're going to stop, because what do you add to that?
My heart's full.
So, Captain Kirk, now you know what you'll be driving. You know that you're going to be sitting next to God Almighty.
Ooh.
You know you're going to visit the entire world in 12 hours. You know you're coming back to the greatest scene that will ever have been produced in the history of mankind. The greatest show on earth. A great celebration of life prior to the marriage ceremony and the family reunion on the day of reconciliations as the earth is returned to the conditions of Eden. 1,000-year celebration of life here on this planet. And then the really good part starts.
The delegation.
You know, if I were you, Yisrael, if I were you, Yehud, I'd pay attention.
Come now.
I'd stop being so stiff-necked. Time to listen. Join us. I have 2 fur faces and 4 eyes and 2 noses and 2 wagging tails outside of a glass door that are saying, okay, we do not do separation. Shabbat Shalom. And so that was Wookie and Aster saying Shabbat Shalom.
Uh-huh.
Good night to one and all. Thank you guys for
Yes, sir.
participating.
Thank
And
you, Kevin.
for the great chariot ride, and for the Kevin Shorts, and
Yeah.
The
Just wait.
the whole lot of it. Those were really good shorts today, by the way. I like the format. The last few you've really made very interesting, and we're getting
I've
good
got
results.
good material, so it's easy.
Yeah, we're getting good results. Somebody smarter than us has to figure out a way that we can verify the 2 or 3 new YouTube channels, but at least we're getting many views, and we have great content there. And we have learned that just as a verification, that the strike that we thought had been put against the channels for posting the movie of 10/7, the real events of 10/7, which we knew was too strong for YouTube. It was accepted, but I wrote a lovely letter asking Mark Zuckerberg to please accept it. It was accepted on Facebook. It was accepted on X. I posted it many times in both those places. But we had thought that we received one of the 3 lethal strikes for posting our commitment to revealing what really happened on 10/7 in Israel. But we did get a letter back from YouTube management and said, it was not right to give you a strike on that, and so we're removing the strike. So we have an unblemished record. We have lots of original content. So we just have to figure out how to get all the advanced features back by doing proper verification, which they're not making easy, because everything we attempt to do is not quite passing muster.
It's
But as soon as we
ridiculous.
resolve that,
Ridiculous is the word.
we'll be clicking on all cylinders in that regard too. So if you're listening and you're listening on YouTube, thank you. If you're listening on Facebook, please visit YouTube from time to time. And no matter, even though it is a swamp, it is still an effective means to, I wouldn't say it's effective, but it is a means to reach Yisraelites. Yeah,
Yes.
come and support us on X. I have published many times, and I will continue to do so, all of the various identifications to find where we are on those places. But it's important that we work together. We have a team, we have a family, we have a responsibility, and collectively, God has just told us we're going to prevail. Shabbat Shalom. Good night.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.